Hi, this is George Alger. Welcome to today's segment of Our Ventura TV. Today we're going to be talking about the state of radio, and our guest expert is Mike Cary, who is the Chief Financial Officer of Crawford Media Group. Welcome, Mike, and what is the current state of radio?
Hi, George. Thanks for having me. Um, there is a lot going on with the state of radio today. There's been so much change over the 30 years I've been in the business. I think some of the biggest changes is there's just been an explosion of opportunity to deliver content for people to listen. Uh, Things people are familiar with: satellite radio, internet radio, streaming, podcasting, um, HD radio. The quality of radio has increased dramatically. A lot of people don't realize that there are actually more radio stations on the dial that are HD behind their actual favorite stations.
In fact, are most regular terrestrial radio stations now also streaming?
Most terrestrial radio stations do, in fact, stream, yes.
Okay.
But with the
And,
HD, actually FM stations have enough bandwidth that they can actually broadcast another two stations kind of on the same frequency, but in HD.
Okay, so let's just look at some terms here. So when we're talking about HD, that's high definition, correct?
High definition.
Okay, and when we're talking streaming, we're just talking radio over the internet. But that streaming can be high definition or not. Do I understand that correct?
Yes. Yeah. The streaming, it is digital, so it is high definition already.
Oh, okay, okay. So all streaming is high definition. Okay. And is there, like, let's suppose someone moves from one city to the next and they're listening to their favorite radio station in their prior city. So they're listening to that online through streaming. Is it exactly the same as the radio one, like even the ads, or are there other differences?
If you're streaming, the definition of streaming is that it's a complete duplication of the terrestrial signal. So yes, no matter where you are, you're going to hear exactly what they're hearing on the air.
Okay. Now, of course, a big term that's come up in recent years, even though it's been around, I understand, for a couple decades, is podcasting. Um, can you speak to that?
Right. The growth in podcasting just in the last year or two has been tremendous. And what podcasting is when a broadcaster, who typically has been something maybe that was on the air, terrestrial air, they'll record it. It could be something like we're doing right now, an interview or a program, and they put that recording on their website so that anybody can go onto the website and actually download that podcast and listen to it anytime they want. So it's kind of appointment listening. If you couldn't tune in at 2 o'clock to hear whatever was on the air, you can go to the website and listen to it later if they put it on as a podcast.
So could we also say that podcasting is sort of like radio on demand?
You can, because one of the things that's been changing very recently is you have a lot of personalities now that are just creating podcasts on their own and putting them on a website without ever broadcasting over the air.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's just additional content.
Okay. And for someone though who still may not be familiar with podcasting though, but just it's like it's radio, it's audio, or I understand it can even be video nowadays too. But you can listen to a specific program, sort of like you had video recorded. So even though that program was recorded at a certain time, and we're used to listening to radio live for a podcast, you can listen to it any time of day, any day of week, and presumably any time into the future, unless they take it down for some reason.
That's exactly right. And that's why they do it, so that you can listen to it anytime you want.
Okay. And how do these different forms of I want to say radio, but I'm not even sure if that's the right term. These different types of um, media infect radio.
It's had a tremendous effect on radio because obviously everybody used to listen to radio as the only option. And so radio as a whole has lost, listenership. It still has a significant reach. Up to 90% of the people still listen to terrestrial radio in a week, but they're maybe not there as long as they used to be. So radio has had to adapt to that. One of the ways you try to adapt is to make sure that you're providing indispensable programming and that they can only get there so that they tune into you. And it's still free. The other options that are available oftentimes have a fee associated with them.
Yeah, so satellite radio you pay for, and most, or maybe nowadays all, of internet radio. Well, no, you can pay for it. I listen to internet radio. You can pay for it, but you can also not pay for it, and then it's ad supported. So you have that option. So in that case, it's similar to radio. Okay, and was satellite the first one that kind of really broadened what radio means?
Yeah, it was. Satellite goes back pretty far, and people may remember there used to be two satellite companies, XM and Sirius, and they were prohibited by law actually from combining, but they waived that later because they were having trouble surviving, and they consolidated. So now there's only one satellite company, but it's been around a very long time. They were really probably the first non-terrestrial alternative.
Okay. And also, can you speak about the the consolidation of terrestrial radio? Radio, like FM radio, that I grew up listening to, is different now than it was back then. It's more uniform across the country. Can you just speak on that?
Yes, and that's really been a consequence of what you said earlier, where there's more options now. Previously, there were legal limits on how many radio stations you could own, which were lifted in the late 90s. So as a result of that, you have radio groups now that can own 400, 500, or 800 radio stations. And because there are less listeners in total, what some of these companies have done is they've consolidated programming and cost at corporate. So they'll initiate programming and personalities from one location for up to hundreds of locations in order to keep costs down. And as a result of that, a lot of the programming is the same, regardless of which station you're listening to that has that format. So it becomes more centralized and corporate and less local in that kind of a situation. But not all radio companies do that. You still have local owners and operators who have local programming.
Very good. All right, Michael, we're just about out of time here. Wonder if you have a website that viewers can go to for more information, and if you have a summating message for the viewers.
Sure. People could log on to crawfordmediagroup.net for more information on what our company does. And I guess since we're part of a local broadcaster, my message would be that if you like listening to your local radio station, I would encourage you to support those advertisers and let those advertisers know you heard them on that radio station, because that will keep that radio station in business and no cost to you to listen to them.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mike. I'm going to be wrapping things up here. This is George Alger signing off for this segment of Our Ventura TV, until we meet again.